Joining me now to discuss is the architect of much of the president's economic agenda, though let it be noted that Trump is not a man to follow through on the architect's instructions. Oren Cass, founder of American Compass, thank you so much for joining us. So how do you rate the president's economic agenda thus far?
Well, hi, Batya. It's great to see you. It's so exciting to be on your show. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a fantastic show, and this is such an important topic. I think you have to give a grade of incomplete. I think he's off to a very important start. I think the things they did right out of the gate were the right direction to go. I think it's a real problem when you have a bunch of economists saying like, well, why haven't you fixed and restructured the entire international economy in, 6 months, 9 months? Obviously, this stuff takes time. What's so encouraging to see, though, is that it's working the way it's supposed to. Like you said, we're not seeing these unbearable price increases. Obviously, the economy hasn't crashed. And we are seeing the companies say, OK, we get it. We're going to invest in America. We're going to start building more stuff here.
So part of the problem is that prices have not significantly come down. And a lot of Americans are really still hurting. Affordability in the recent election was the #1 issue for voters. What could the president be doing right now to address those concerns?
Well, I think part of this is a communication issue because, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, prices aren't going to come back down. And frankly, we wouldn't want them to. If prices suddenly started falling, you'd have what you call deflation. People would start seeing their wages come down too. You'd have the sort of situation a country like Japan has struggled with. So, the economic goal has to be price stability. And that's something the administration has been achieving. We're not suffering the Biden-like crazy inflation. We're seeing something, within about a percentage point of what it usually is, what the Federal Reserve wants it to be. And then the question is, okay, so how do you help families make ends meet? And that's where we need, on healthcare, working on drug pricing is super important. On housing, how do you get more people building? How do you make it possible to live in more places so that there are more places with good economies, good jobs, and housing that is affordable? And then how do you create better jobs for people so that their wages are going up? And I think that has to be the core of the agenda.
You've done an amazing job of outlining how we got into this mess in the first place, to where working class Americans didn't have a shot at the American dream. So much of what the president is doing right now is long term. It's taking a ship that was pointed in the wrong direction and reorienting it. But as you point out, that takes time. Does he have that time politically? Or are we going to keep seeing what we saw on Tuesday, where, Hispanic voters and others who gave him a shot are just not feeling enough of a change and go back to the Democrats?
I think there is time. I always point people back to Ronald Reagan coming into office at the beginning of 1981. I mean, we forget now, they took interest rates up to 20%. They sent unemployment up to 10%. The market crashed. And by the time you even got to Election Day in 1984, those things hadn't recovered, really, certainly not all the way. And Ronald Reagan won the biggest landslide re-election, I think, since George Washington. But what he'd done was he communicated clearly. Here's what the problem is. Here's what we're going to do about it. Here's the progress you're going to start to see. Here's how we're on the right track. And I think if President Trump and his team can do that, I think the American people, I think they're hungry for that. I think they understand, being promised everything's free, everything's win-win, got us to where we are. I think there's an understanding that we have to invest, that there are costs, that there are sacrifices. And if they understand what they're for and what they're going to get out of it, I think that could be the most popular political message we've heard in a long time.
Mm-hmm. What would you like to see the agenda turn to next? What would you like to see the president take on as his next big initiative?
I think the most important thing is education and training. What we us wonks call it workforce development, because the college system obviously doesn't work for most people. I think the administration has taken a good step in saying we're actually going to take on these universities that are, collecting hundreds of billions of dollars in taxpayer money and serving almost nobody. But alongside that, we need to build the alternatives. We have to have, the non-college pathways, the apprenticeships, the training programs, partnerships with employers, especially in these places where manufacturing is coming back, especially where we need more energy, especially where we're building, just the number of electricians you need for data centers is extraordinary. And so if we can start getting in that place, getting that stuff in place, I think that's the next piece that people are really going to start seeing a payoff from.
Oren Cass, thank you so much for your service to this country and for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.